And here you all thought the Crunchyroll and Funimation wars were over. Get ready, because Crunchyroll is rebranding Funimation. I kid, they're not rebranding, but it wouldn't actually surprise me. Yes, we have a change of the guard in the leadership in Crunchyroll itself. I also have some news surrounding Netflix possibly looking at ad-supported subscription base, as well as a sequel for smartphone. As well as some other news to get into this news bit. For our first news bit, yes, it looks like Colin Decker, CEO of Crunchyroll, is stepping down. This was announced by Sony Pictures Entertainment. It looks like Colin Decker is making his leave of the company, and to replace him is longtime Funimation COO Rahul Purini. Yes, it looks like the old leadership of Funimation is now in control of Crunchyroll. And now, I'm not going to go on some crazy conspiracy theories here. This is just a change of the guard. They're still under Sony and all that kind of stuff, but it does start to bring up some interesting questions as to what this could mean for Crunchyroll's future. Rahul has been a part of Funimation since 2015, and by the way, I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Following this announcement, Rahul has stated, "It is an honor and a privilege for me to take on this new role and to drive the next chapter of Crunchyroll forward. Having spent the last 7 years involved in nearly every facet of the business and seeing how far we've come, the opportunity ahead is bright, and I look forward to what we will do together next. There are so many things that excite me about this new role, but one part that stands out is our clear opportunity to accelerate the growth, size, and love of anime around the world by putting fans and communities first, and by helping everyone belong." That last few words scares the hell out of me. That last few words scare the hell out of me from a Western perspective, honestly. I will say, I'm actually excited about this. Now, hear me out. I think we've been in a state of fluctuation between who's the bad guy, because obviously, Sony buying up Funimation, the whole situation with voice actors within Funimation, and a lot of catastrophes that are coming from that, a lot of the drama that was coming out of Funimation. Then we had the whole side over here with Crunchyroll, High Guardian Spice, and all the things they were kind of shoving out there that were giving us a lot of pause as to who possibly is going to change the anime sphere for the worse, to pull it away from the fans and to give it a new coat of paint that, yes, is more Western Twitter driven. Let's just say that is the best way that I can describe it. Censorship that we were seeing coming out of Crunchyroll and stuff that was being pulled over from Funimation. All these things give us pause as to this kind of Western washing the anime sphere that we really don't want to see happen. We obviously go to anime because it's different. It's Japanese. It's an escape from the Western cultures and all that we know is normal, and see something that's different, a different viewpoint, and storytelling that's never really holding back, that's doing crazy things that would otherwise shock a Western audience. And so we're always kind of afraid of who might be pulling the strings behind the scenes that might be damaging things. And honestly, at this point, I have more hope in Rahul than I probably ever did with Colin Decker. Let's be honest, Crunchyroll has kind of been shifting. It's constantly been shifting, and I think the big awakening for me was definitely High Guardian Spice. When they first released that trailer, I was scared. I was like, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I think a lot of people wanted. It was a sign that Crunchyroll was taking in way too many, let's say, different viewpoints of the world in the Western culture that definitely isn't Japanese. It's definitely not anime, the thing that we love. And we were kind of afraid of seeing that bleed into the stuff that we love so much. But something that kind of came to realization for me here recently was in Funimation as a core was much more into giving us what we wanted than Crunchyroll was turning into. Yes, putting aside a lot of the drama surrounding voice actors and some crazy stuff coming out of that, Funimation as a core was giving us what we wanted. It was giving us the uncensored stuff. Now, granted, putting aside things like Sugumomo and some issues surrounding a lot of masters that they were receiving for the Blu-ray releases, there was still a lot of content there that you would probably never see on Crunchyroll. They had the masters. They had the uncensored versions they were putting on Funimation. Technically, Funimation had more uncensored content than Crunchyroll ever had, because Crunchyroll was just getting the broadcast. They weren't getting the other stuff. They weren't getting the masters. They weren't getting the uncensored stuff. They weren't getting violent stuff. And when I say uncensored, I don't just mean ecchi. I mean everything. But like I said before, those last few words in his statement scares me. This idea of helping everyone belong is a loaded statement. It could mean we want to make sure there's something for everybody. Come to this platform. You'll get your, yes, uncensored stuff. You'll get your censored stuff. You'll get your your kid stuff, you'll get your violent stuff, you'll get your adult stuff. Everything is here. We want everybody to belong. But again, like I said, I pause because that can mean something else. That can mean again, like I said earlier, is the best way I can describe it, the Twitter belonging, the safe space stuff. And that's what scares me. I hope that's not what he means by that. I hope that he means I want every fan to find a place here. Every fan to enjoy this content. That we won't change things, we'll let it be, and you can find it here. That's what I'm hoping that statement says. But again, it can mean multiple things. But again, I go back to the fact that at a core, Funimation was technically doing things pretty darn well. And so I do have a little bit of happiness that comes from this whole shift. Now again, this is still Sony's company. This doesn't mean that he has full control, but he is heading it. He's heading Crunchyroll as a brand. And so my hopes is that he takes it in a good direction. To give a little more context to Rahul, he has been spearheading Crunchyroll's strategic day-to-day operations, including e-commerce, production studios, content programming, business intelligence, and analytics. It's interesting to note that he does see analytics, like he's been working through analytics. And I think that's a really good thing. I think when you have somebody that's at the head of something that has spent most of his time looking at all these different types of numbers, that really gives you a clear perspective of what people want, I think it's a good thing. He knows how things are ticking. He knows how things have shifted, and he knows what is important. And I hope that's what's going to drive him in his leadership. But only time will tell. But like I said, I'm being optimistic. I'm being optimistic. I will still keep my Damn It Roberts mug at hand. But for now, I'm hoping that this is a good thing. That is, there's a positive thing, that we will see some good changes that come from this and not negative changes. And again, it all kind of relies on that last statement in his statement. Moving on, we have more news, of course. We have this other bit about Netflix. Apparently, Netflix is considering a subscription tier that includes ad support. Now, the idea behind this is that they will have a lower tier costing subscription that you can do, but it will include ads when you're actually viewing stuff. So yes, you can have the $20 tier they currently have, woof, but you can maybe have, and I'm totally throwing a number here, probably like $13. I'm probably gonna say I'm guessing it's gonna be $13, but that one will have ads as you're viewing videos. So it supplements that extra $6, $7 with ads instead. This comes to us care of Netflix CEO Reed Hastings, who has stated that he's always been against the idea of having the complexity of advertising. He actually likes the idea of this simple concept of just having a subscription and not all these stupid ads. But he also states that he's a bigger fan of consumer choice. Yeah, it just took him, what? Over a decade to figure this out, apparently. Let's all be perfectly honest. There's a reason why he's now suddenly feeling like he needs to have consumer choice. They've had a huge loss in subscribers here recently. Netflix apparently has reported a loss of over 200,000 subscribers in just the months between January and March. This is following them projecting gaining 2.5 million subscribers, so it's a little bit in the reverse. This also follows the suspension of Russia during this whole conflict and losing 700,000 subscribers through that, dropping Netflix's stocks by 25%. And they're projecting another loss of 2 million subscribers over the following months until June. Now, of course, he's citing that this whole loss of subscriptions is due to inflation, it's due to account sharing. They always love the account sharing thing, even though they used to love it. And increase of competition, as well as the fact that they already have a lot of existing accounts. Like, they've reached their peak, and so it's only downhill from here. Not at all acknowledging the fact that this could be because you raise subscription costs again. They never want to acknowledge it might be because your subscription costs $20 a month. There's no other service that costs anywhere near that. I mean, most of my subscriptions are $5 to $10 the most. You're the only one that's 20. Maybe that's why. But at any rate, I am in support of this. I think this is a good move. Now, it all depends on how bad these ads are, because I've been with services like Hulu, where if you do a ad-supported sub, it's like, my gosh, minutes and minutes and minutes worth of content that you're having to watch through. I mean, it's literally like watching on television where you get these ad breaks that are upwards of 5 minutes. It's bad. So it depends on how much they do. Because I think if you're cutting a good $6 and you have maybe some 30 seconds worth of ads, I think that's fine. But But I think what a lot of people are going to find is it's probably going to be more annoying than positive, because you do have a lot of content on Netflix that are movie length. And so if you have a movie that's running and they have ad breaks that jump in at really bad points, hopefully they actually curate when the ad breaks are so that it's not breaking into any action scenes or anything like that. It's probably going to be more of an annoyance than anything. But what I see from that is not so much that it's going to force people to get that $20 a month subscription. It's just, it means that people are going to go, yeah, this is annoying, and I'm not going to pay $20, and they'd leave. That's kind of where I see it. This is one of those things where they give consumer choice, this option of a cheaper thing, but then it doesn't really help out in any way, shape, or form. But we'll see. I mean, this is in the wake of, I think Disney is talking about doing an ad-supported subscription as well. Obviously, Crunchyroll is pulling away from ads for new content, and they still have it for old content. But again, I think this could be a positive. It just depends on the length of the ads, where they're placed, how many you're getting, and how much you're saving. But I think it is really funny to I guess, is one of those things where you see what they're saying and it sounds so disconnected. Yes, they do acknowledge the idea of inflation, but they don't acknowledge the cost going up as well. It's just, we acknowledge that you don't have as much money as you used to, but I'm not going to acknowledge the fact that I'm asking for more from you. It just feels very disconnected, and just it's as if they don't want to state the obvious that they're at fault. Because if they did list that, that blames themselves, and they don't want to do that. But we'll see where that goes. But that's Netflix for you. Moving on to some fun news. Let's get some fun news out here. I have two more news bit here that'll be fun. We have the Unwanted Undead Adventurer light novel series is getting a TV anime adaptation. This was announced during the Overlap Bunko 9th anniversary online event. They have some really weird names of events. This is for the light novel series Japanese title Nozo Manu Fushi no Bokinsha. In celebration of this announcement, the novel artist has released an illustration, which I'll have on the screen here. The synopsis for the series is Rent Fina, a 25-year-old adventurer, has been hacking away at monsters for a decade. However, without much talent for the job, Rent finds himself stuck hunting slimes and goblins for meager amounts of coin every day. Little does he know, all this is about to change when he comes across a seemingly undiscovered path in the labyrinth of the moon's reflection. What awaits him at the end of the path, however, is neither treasure nor riches, but a legendary dragon that wastes no time in swallowing him whole. Waking up a short time later, Rent finds himself not quite dead, but not very alive either. He is nothing more than a pile of bones. Armed with nothing but a trusty sword, tool belt, and ghoulish new looks, Rent sets off on an adventure, newly reborn skeleton, to achieve existential evolution, hoping that one day to return to civilization with a more human form. Will Brent succeed, or will the labyrinth consume him for the rest of his undeath? Sounds very interesting. We'll see how that goes, but definitely sounds interesting to me. No date set or anything like that, no studio, just the announcement at this point, but I'll definitely stay tuned to that and let you guys know if I hear anything additional. And for our last bit of news, we have the official website for the TV anime adaptation of In Another World with My Smartphone has announced, yes, the series will get a second season. The light novel author is obviously excited about this and has released an illustration for it, so there you go. There you go. That's coming back. Now, as usual, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for this getting a second season. I'm excited for the series. I'm excited for the fans of it. This is just one of those things that whenever this comes up, I always think, well, why not Kakeki Shoujo? Why not this show? Why not this show? Why Smartphone? For those that don't remember or never checked out the series, the synopsis is basically this guy dies and the god of this world essentially is apologetic, like, oh man, we screwed up. I'm going to reincarnate you into this other world and I'm going to give you what you need. And essentially he's able to isekai into this other world, but he keeps his smartphone. And it kind of goes in this whole thing that the smartphone is able to actually work there, and he's able to check websites and use GPS and everything, and it gives him kind of this advantage in this world. So it's basically the concept. It's just, again, isekai with a smartphone. It's a series that I personally kind of dropped off on. I might try to watch it again to see if maybe I'll enjoy it more now than I did back then, but it was kind of in the wake of a lot of isekais that weren't really doing much. But either way, definitely look forward to that if you're a fan of the series. But that's it. That's all the news that we have for now. Some big hitting news bits, but I wanted to get it covered and get it to you guys. As always, if you've not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I do regular news bits that kind of cover usually the week's news, or if something's really pressing, I'll release it on day. Also, I do first impressions of new shows each season, as well as reviews, top lists. If it's anime, it's here. I definitely appreciate you guys checking us out. Additionally, if you want to support us more, we have a Patreon account and a tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that supports us, and y'all take care.